Welcome everybody to another video hosted by Fellowship of Fans. And today we have an all-star panel for you guys. And what we are going to go over today are characters that we believe are not going to show up during season one or are unlikely to, and our hopes for who and maybe when they will show up in future seasons. I'm going to be your host today, Varking. Should say dwarf over there. That's what I am. That's what I represent. Appreciate everybody showing up, everybody for tuning into the video, but let's go around the horn and kind of introduce ourselves. Let's start with Strider.
Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here to take my weekly detour from Second Age show. So happy to be here and to discuss this theme with you.
Hen, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. As usual, it's always very fun to be on these. So yeah.
And who is the interesting guest that we have today?
I think that would be me, I assume. I don't know how interesting I'm going to be. But, I'm Dan from the YouTube channel Voice of Geekdom. I've been on the channel before a couple of times, so maybe some of your viewers will remember. But yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about this topic with you all.
Yep, glad to have everybody here. And I guess we'll just jump right into it. And I will start with a character that I believe, and it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, that I'm going to go with a dwarf here. I believe, and I am very excited. You know, I'm going to bring up two. I'm going to do one educated guess and then one long shot. It's going to make a lot of people mad. But first, on the educated guess, I'm going to go with the dwarf named Narvi, who is one of the greatest smiths of all time, who creates something that a lot of people enjoy and use, and we see down the road in the movies. That is my hope, that we get to see Narvi, and I'm thinking he's going to be showing up closely to like season 3 or season 4, but it should be well before the end, and I can explain why. I think that he needs to be there a little bit earlier than the end. But let's go with Hen. Who's your character that you think is going to show up in a future season?
The easy guess would be an Arion, because he's supposed to be like basically a toddler, I think, at this stage, because Isildur is being played as an 18-year-old. I'm assuming he's like 30 Numenorian years or something. So an Arion is my guess, yeah.
That's your safe bet. Do you have like a long shot hope that this different character is going to appear? Other than Gandalf, I know you are really excited to see Gandalf.
Man, we'll get to that, I presume. Yeah.
Strider, who is your safe bet that is going to appear in a future season, and why don't you think they'll be in season 1?
Well, okay, when you put the question like that, I would say that we are probably going to see Celeborn at some point. But so far, he's been like completely absent from any sort of like promo. We don't have any hits regarding him.
For people who don't care about a certain race's lore, who is Celeborn?
Yeah, so Celeborn is this random dude who was actually Galadriel's husband. And there's actually a lot of memes going on about him, especially in the movies, that he's like, who the hell is this guy? But actually, for people who are wondering that, he's actually a renowned warrior among the elves, and is one of the, if I'm not mistaken, like one of the nobles of Doriath, the famous elven kingdom from Beleriand. So I think he's a pretty safe bet to see, but probably not in the first season. Like, it seems like more like the second or even the third season. So that's my safe bet.
A specific reason that you feel season 1 would be too early for him?
Well, just based on what we heard so far, like there were mentions of Lyndon, Galadriel, Gil-galad, Elrond, but we didn't really hear anything of him. Like, we will know, of course, you have to have Celebrimbor, and it makes sense that Celebrimbor will be mentioned because he's the guy who makes the rings. But still, Celeborn is actually a solidly big deal. I mean, he is Galadriel's husband, and he is, as I said, like one of the nobles of Doriath. So he should be mentioned at some way, or like just shown or just hinted at something. But we have Galadriel, who seems to be paired with Halbrand in the first season, and it seems like the two of them will be sharing a lot of screen time. So there doesn't seem like room to do much with somebody else. And we also have like a photo with Elrond of her.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, Galadriel is busy doing stuff. She's busy being Indiana Jones in this season.
And Dan, who is your character that you think is a safe bet to appear in future seasons?
I don't know if it's a completely safe bet, but I'm going to go with Glorfindel. And the reason I think that he would be somebody to show up in later seasons is because the most generally accepted date for him returning to Middle-earth is the year 1600, when the rings were forged. And of course, we're going to be starting before the rings were forged, or before the One Ring was forged, rather. So yeah, that's the character I'm going to go with as who I'd like to see. I don't know whether they actually will do him or not, but it would be nice. It would be nice fan service for Lord of the Rings books fans who missed out on seeing him in the movies. So I think it would be a good shout to do.
Yeah.
When you talk about his appearance and the generally accepted date for when he could come back, you're saying you're pretty confident that he's not somebody who might be able to like drive a meteor to the Earth. He couldn't be Meteor Man. No way.
Please though.
I don't think so. He doesn't have the look of the actor that they've cast for whoever this Meteor Man is. I don't know what the latest thinking on your channel here is about Meteor Man. I don't know if you've revealed anything more since the trailer about him, because I don't watch all of the videos on this channel, but I doubt it.
We have done a deep dive study into that 6-pack or 8-pack of abs, and we are on this channel, and this is breaking, so we're going to get in trouble for this, but I'm pretty confident that's Jeffrey Bezos' body.
Right.
Yep, we just revealed the biggest reel so far.
Yeah, we just blew it up. It's going to trend. I'll add him on Twitter. I don't know if he's got a Twitter, but we'll get him. We'll see if we can get him on the channel.
6-pack analysis here on
exactly. Like everybody else was doing hands, we were doing 6-packs.
Yeah, but I have to say I agree with this. Like, Glorfindel is I think my probably second favorite character since I was a kid. Since the first time I read this, since the first time I read the novels, I really, really, really hope that we get him on the show. And if they nail his casting, if he's awesome, that's gonna go a long way towards building up my love for the show. Like, if we have Glorfindel and he's awesome, I'm gonna be so happy.
Yeah, the nice thing about him as well is that he's kind of a blank slate in a way, because we don't know anything about what he was doing in the Second Age. We know quite a bit about what he was doing in the Third, but we don't really know much at all about what he was doing in the Second. So even lore purists can't really complain with whatever storyline they might come up with him, unless he is Meteor Man. But
totally good point.
Do you guys, as you were saying, he's your second favorite character. Do you have in your head an image of like a character that you think should play him or could play him?
An actor, you mean?
Yeah.
So for me, I do. I totally randomly came to this. Clive Owen for some reason. was my choice for Glorfindel. But I have to say, for anyone who didn't, by some chance, play the Battle for Middle-earth series, the real-time strategy that was made after the movies came out, in the second part and in the expansion for the second part, there's a lot of Glorfindel, and the character art, the artwork that they made for him there, and the voice, that's just my definite Glorfindel in my head. And until like 2 weeks ago, when I just randomly Clive Owen popped to my head, I didn't even try to like imagine an actor who could play him. But yeah, something like that. Like, his depiction in those games is perfection.
All right, we'll swing it back around the horn the other way. So let's start with Dan. Who is a character that you're hoping, but you're not like, it would be a long shot for this character to appear?
Okay, so there's one character that I thought about earlier on when Fellowship asked me to join you guys. Who there's a character I read this story recently, the story of the disaster of the Gladden Fields in Unfinished Tales. There's a character that shows up in that story who is not mentioned anywhere else, as far as I'm aware, who is Isildur's squire, LOTR. And so I mentioned before we started that I had a human character. So he's Isildur's squire. We know we'll see Isildur. Presumably he's like, I mean, I don't know what they're doing with timeline, so I can't really predict what to expect there. Same thing with Anarion, actually. But presumably he's quite a bit younger than Isildur, one would think, because he's his squire. But that could be an interesting character dynamic that they could build on. And maybe we see him like come into it during the War of the Last Alliance and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a fun one. Also, Isildur's children as well, whose names I can't remember all of them, but but they could be good as well. If I could just
does the squire
them in there as well?
Does he
squire
live?
is LOTR. So yes, he does. He's the guy who Isildur passes the shards of Narsil to before he dies.
That would be awesome.
So before the disaster at the Gladden Fields, the orcs are closing in. They know that they're about to get ambushed. They have some warning before it happens. So Isildur takes the shards of Narsil and he says, "Go before the orcs get here. Just go and escape as fast as you can, and don't worry if you get accused of being a coward or whatever, because it's the most important thing in the world is that you get these shards and this like ceremonial family heirloom to Elrond." And it's kind of a fun passage because he keeps the One Ring at that point. He could have potentially run away himself with the One Ring or even given it away at that point, but he takes the One Ring to his death. So the storyline kind of sets up this parallel between the ring and Narsil in the text there. I was just talking about this recently on a podcast that just hasn't come out yet on my channel, but so it's fresh in my memory. But yeah,
I think that would be awesome.
It's kind of a fun story, and I would like to get more backstory about him because if you think, Isildur's squire, he was probably with him quite a lot at the time, and they would have that interesting kind of sort of relationship dynamic there. Yeah. Could be fun to explore.
Yeah, and you can build that backstory to him, because I'm sure Isildur is not just going to pick some random dude off the street to become his personal squire. He's going to have to see something in this guy that makes him want to like bring him upon this journey, trust in him, and think that he's going to serve him well and could become, eventually a great, strong character down the road. So that, and then like you said, he's the one that gets the shards. I could see that being like his closing shot of the show, and it's being this epic scene as he's running off.
Yeah, definitely. That would be a fun place to leave the show. I mean, they might well finish, right after the War of Last Alliance, after Sauron's defeated. But they could do an epilogue where they show us the Gladden Fields as well a couple of years later. And if they do, then this is a character that they'll want to see.
Yeah.
Hen, let's go back to you. Do you have a character that you're other than Gandalf that you don't want to see, or maybe you're not expecting to see, but down the road you're like, it would make sense for this character to be in here?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we'll see the character that becomes the King of the Dead. Those people. So that may be one.
I recently, it might have been yesterday or the day before, I was scrolling through Reddit mindlessly.
Yeah, people bring it up sometimes.
Yeah, and I never really pictured them. Like, I think people were saying he could appear, but up until kind of just hearing it out loud right now, it's not really something that ever crossed my mind. It could happen. You could get the backstory on them before they die, but that would be...
You kind of should, because the whole point of their backstory is that they don't want to join the Last Alliance, so it is important in a way.
But they're cursed by Isildur, and Isildur took that Stone of Eric with him as well from Numenor, before Numenor.
Right. So that would be a cool visual.
So yeah, there's quite a lot of story there actually.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and they've been subservient to Sauron in years prior. Yeah.
I think everybody would like to see that. Like, that would be a really impressive scene to have him, build this huge monument, and then I don't know, maybe in like season 4 or something like that, and then in season 5 when he asks those people to join him, then they break the oath. I think it's all happening, as you said, around that area. So yeah, that would be a good and also a great way to explain to people, what was Aragorn doing, like who were those people there in the third part.
Yeah, and it fits, with the hobbits and everything. You can really see that Amazon is going for the you remember this, don't you, audience? So yeah, I don't know, but I'm not entirely sold that it's totally necessarily in the cards. So
I think it's a good, definitely great idea. I can totally see that happening, and as well as I have to say also for LOTR, that's such a deep dive. So thank you very much, Voice of Geekdom, for remembering that. That's an amazing story, and totally agree. We could totally see him. I only know, I believe it's Meneldil, who was Anarion's kid, who stayed to
he becomes the next king of Gondor. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
right.
Gondor. And Amandil was the youngest one who was in Rivendell. He was the only one, Isildur's son, who didn't go to the Battle of the Last Alliance.
But Falandil, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know about the others. I think one of them starts with E, but that's
I just read it a few days ago and I've already forgotten. I think one of them's called Kirian or something like that.
Could be.
And yeah, one of them's called Elendor. Elendor is the oldest one, yeah. And he's compared with
the one he calls Anya.
Yeah, that's it. So there's a few different. I think there's a middle son as well. There's 4, so there's another middle.
I think
son as well.
four sons.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah.
Ryder, I was gonna go to you next, and I was gonna close out with me, but mine is gonna upset a lot of people, especially Hen. So I'm gonna go next, and then we can end on yours because I'm sure it's gonna be a much more positive note. I'm gonna give up the whole plot of the entire show right now on this stream and let you guys know that Meteor Man is gonna be Gandalf, but he's gonna grow into Gandalf the White. Now we already have a Durin the 4, and we have a Durin the 3 on the show. So Amazon might as well go full bore and just give us 7 Durins all together, 2, 1, 6, 7, make up some as they go and give us Gandalf the White and the 7 Dwarves. Because Disney, I think, just canceled a movie about the Dwarves, and it's time to do it right, baby. So I'm gonna go with we're gonna get a Durin the, I don't know, maybe we'll go like number 5. I think number 5 will be on the show and do something great too in later seasons, and it's gonna hurt people. It's gonna hurt their heart, but you know what? I apologize, and that's just that's where I'm going with it. It's going to be Gandalf the White and the 7 Dwarves.
You're being sarcastic, right? I don't know you. We've never talked before, so
yes,
yes, he's being very sarcastic.
Good,
but he just does it with such passion that I just want to make this true for him. Like I would just like to see this happen just for him.
I'm going to make my special cuts of the show. It's going to remove every scene that is a non-dwarf, and I'm just going to have 5 seasons of this amazing dwarf footage, and that is going to be where it's at.
There is. If we were doing characters that we wish wouldn't be in it, obviously Meteor Man being Gandalf, kill me now, would be one. But another one would be if they were thinking, we're compressing all this time. Why don't we, while we're at it, like put the Balrog a bit early, and So that's, I don't know.
So on a more serious note,
it would make sense for a Balrog to crash with the meteor and not die because
No. I don't mean as the Meteor Man. I mean like in compressed during during the 5th that gets shish kebabbed into. The 6th, yes. So, he gets, let's amalgamate him with the 4th and do the Balrog in season 5. Look, audience. See?
Yeah, the same thought has occurred to me as well. I don't know what the downside would be of doing that. If they were to do that, what do you lose from doing that? Other than,
that's a bit cloying in a way.
Lore purists, but They've already
Yeah.
lost those people anyway.
I don't look at these things like I dread the idea that Meteor Man is Gandalf, but not because it's not the way it should be, but more so because it's cloying. You see, it's just like, oh, these two Hobbit girls befriended this old man, and you see, many years later he sees them in Bilbo, and so they become friends. It's very, it's very cloying.
Yeah, I agree. In that specific case with Gandalf, I mean, I don't want to see Gandalf. I know Gandalf's story. I don't need to see him in the second age. It doesn't make any sense to me. But
if I'm being only partially sarcastic now, we're coming down off of my dwarf high. I would like to see in the final season, in a closing shot, or maybe a little bit before then, I would be interested in seeing a long shot character like the Mouth of Sauron appearing in some fashion. I mean, maybe not looking super ridiculous like how they're going to have him in the Gollum game, but just like a different look, maybe a little backstory, even if it's just a quick thing, just be a little character that we don't have a great deal on in terms of on screen. I can't like guarantee it, but it would be cool to see it a little bit.
Mouth of Sauron is immortal, though, isn't he? So, like, he's presumably the Mouth of Sauron that we meet is the descendant of a long line of Black Numenorians that are serving in Barad-dûr. So you get my point. So
yeah,
he
but what is the story there?
Would be like his ancestor, but yeah,
or
I get the idea.
When does he appear, and when does he take on that role specifically of being like the Mouth of Sauron? He's running his mouth to people like Aragorn.
I get that. Yeah.
Strider, who is your long shot to appear, and what season do you think they might show up in?
Well, I don't know about long shots, but I think that we could see. I have actually a list of Elven characters that I can just speed run at the end of the video or something. But
you don't have to speed run, brother. You can go through them.
Well, first I want to say, like, of course, the two blue wizards. I kind of expect to see them because let's hope that the Meteor Man is not Gandalf, and then if that's not Gandalf, like we have dwarves, elves, men, hobbits, orcs. You need the wizard, and of course, blue wizards fit perfectly. One of the versions says that they do come in the second age, so I think they are actually quite likely to appear because a figure of a wizard in Middle Earth is something that audience will always recognize, and you have like an amazing chance to explore that. Though the question, of course, remains of the rights. Do they have the rights to get them in? Will they get like those exclusive rights just to get them in, those two in particular, or something like that? But yeah, so they're kind of a long shot, but they make a lot of sense story-wise to appear.
And they were rewritten later in Tolkien's life to appear during the Second Age, which is supposed to be the overall setting of the show. So they could, I mean, it makes sense that they could appear. I would personally love to see them. It's been like a pipe dream for me on the subreddit since we started. I would love it.
On the rights issue, I mean, Lord of the Rings does say that there are 5 wizards, or heavily implies it at least. So, I mean, in theory, they have the rights to depict 2 more unnamed wizards, and you would think that the Tolkien estate would prefer that it was somewhat derived from Tolkien's writings. So that might be something that they might be willing to give them permission to depict.
And are you just anti-Gandalf or anti-all wizards, or what is it?
No. Like I said, it's it's just terribly cloying. Like, I mean, I'm fine with the idea of blue wizards. I'm not sure how you would kind of like knit them into the plot, because I think in season 1 still a lot of these storylines will be kind of in isolation. Like Numenor will do its thing, and Eregion presumably will do its thing, and Lindon. But still, you get like, they're still close enough that Galadriel, for instance, can go to Numenor. But the Blue Wizards kind of go off on their own into the east and south. And so you'd wonder how they do it. But yeah, okay. I get the idea of doing Blue Wizards. Yeah.
Ryder, who was your next on the list?
Well, I'm pretty sure that at some point we're going to see Celebrian, or I'm not sure what's the pronunciation in English. The lady that Elrond will eventually marry with. So Galadriel's daughter, the mother of Arwen. So I think she's quite a likely choice, and of course she kind of, I guess, comes in a pair with Celeborn, her father. So I guess they could just maybe appear together and during the second season. That would make sense, I would say.
The shot of there's the Vanity Fair has that picture of Galadriel and Elrond reuniting, and it's honestly obviously very amicable, and I always look at that as like, I know a girl who will be just right for you.
Those were my thoughts exactly. Like, I like you, boy. Like, you seem
such
a nice prospect for my daughter.
Wow, that's going to be tough to follow up. What's your next one?
That question for me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna then list like this 5, 6, and then we can just comment on whichever one sounds the most interesting to you. So, like the B cast, let's say, could be 2 elves that we know of who live in Rivendell. That's Lindir and Erestor. Erestor in particular is I think actually both Erestor is a part of the Council of Elrond, and Lindir comments.
Lindir sings in the Hall of Fire, I think.
Yeah, he comments on Bilbo's song, and there's like a few scenes with him there. So we have like those 2 elves in Rivendell. Of course, potentially we could perhaps see Elrond's and Celebrian's children. So we have Aladan and Elrond here, the 2 twins, and Arwen as the youngest of the 3. So that's like the Rivendell cast. I mean, I can see maybe them like showing up at some point, like towards the end. They're compressing the timeline. Like, why? I mean, it's quite possible, I would say, especially if there are time jumps and stuff. So
yeah. Look, audience, Tiny Arwen, sure, I can see that.
Yeah. Shall I go on?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
I'm hoping you're having one that I'm thinking of too.
Okay, so we have Orofer, Thranduil's father, who is supposed to be the king of the Woodland Realm during the Battle of the Last Alliance. And then also his colleague, we might say, Amdir, the king of Lothlorien, who has his son Amroth, by whose name Dol Amroth, the Clan Kingdom of Gondor, carries. And there's like this whole tragic romantic story there happening. And of course, so we have Amdir, the king of Lothlorien, his son Amroth, and the Amroth's love Nimrodel, and
those characters they definitely had the rights for, because those in the Lord of the Rings.
They are mentioned in Lothlorien, so I could totally see them. I think there were more, but maybe I can stop for now and I'll just remember them later. So, do you think any of these characters are like likely? Do you think of all the people that I just mentioned, like who is the likeliest to show up?
I was actually thinking of mentioning Lindir, so obviously I think it's possible. So yeah.
Now, while we're going with Lindir and who was the other one, Erestor, how about another kind of relatively minor elf from the Lord of the Rings, Gildor and Glorion?
Yes,
that could be a fun one. Yeah, he's in Noldor, and interesting thing about him as well as a little fact for you guys. Maybe you guys know, I don't know, but his second name means obviously son of Inglor. Yes. And Inglor was one of the names for Finrod.
Yes.
So the character that we know as Finrod at the time of the writing of the Lord of the Rings was called Inglor Felagund. So when Tolkien wrote that character, he was supposed to be Finrod's son. Yeah. It's an interesting one because it's like Christopher Tolkien, when he published the Silmarillion, he went with the later names, and so he kind of retconned that after the fact in a way. But yeah, I don't know whether we'll get him tied into Galadriel's family in that way, whether they'll invent something for him there. But with them potentially inventing another brother for her, an evil brother that's going to lead a band of orcs, who knows? Like, we could get him as part of her family mix.
Ryder, you named Thranduil's dad, and that's kind of who I was hoping that you would bring up. That would be a fascinating character for me to see, especially because I picture Thranduil as Lee Pace in the Hobbit films, and I thought he was awesome. He had the perfect look for an elf. I just thought that was outstanding. But I'm hoping that we see more of, like, in the show, Arondir, the Sylvan elf, who in the pictures that we saw, the 23 character images, he had like this woodland armor on. I want to see more of those people, like more of those style of Sylvan elves, like the whole process for that wood-ish looking armor. How do they come up with it? Does it have anything to do with Ents? It just, the look that he has fascinates me, and I'd love to kind of see them explore that, even though it seems like he's traveling quite a bit, and he gets captured, I think, at one point, and he's in a fighting pit per the Variety Fair article that we had seen. It just, that backstory of those elves would be different than kind of what we've seen in previous adaptations.
Yeah, I think he's from the Woodland Realm. I think it makes more sense for him to be from the Woodland Realm than from Lorien. So yeah.
The only thing is, he's got to be somewhere in the vicinity of that village that the
that's my point,
mentions, and the village is called Tir Harad, which is South Watch, and the Harad kind of makes you think of Harad, the region. So I wonder whether that village is going to be in the south somewhere.
I'm imagining it like where Gondor would later be, but okay.
Yeah,
and that's why I.
You know that kind of peninsula that's labeled South Gondor on the Lord of the Rings map?
Harondor,
Yeah, I reckon it's going to be in that region somewhere.
Yes,
personally.
And it looks quite verdant. So you don't think it would be like in the Sahara, and that's why I'm saying he's more likely from the Woodland Realm, because the Woodland Realm extends further south than Lorien is, especially in the time, because their capital is in the south part of the woods, not in the north. We should
remember that there were larger forests in the Second Age as well, because the Numenorians cut a lot of the trees down. So we should remember
there is a bite that's missing
around the River Anduin. I mean, you can still have that type of environment that does look like a desert, which is kind of an association with Harad. So I think there's room there, and I think it will make the most sense. But I mean, if he definitely has this, type of armor that you can definitely associate with a Woodland Realm. I have to say, speaking of Ents, we could see a Treebeard.
I'm here for it. Ents, Entwives. Let me see it.
The land of the Entwives is present on Amazon's map. It's very clearly there.
There is one character that would be so immersion breaking for me that I would have to stop watching. And, I'd still run the subreddit. I'll make the threads and stuff, but I'll be done watching. The moment, if there is a confirmation about Durensbane, just knowing his future against the dwarves, that is it for me. I know Amazon tunes in. Please, at least give me a heads up that it's going to happen, if it's going to happen. That is like my one non-negotiable. I can't see it, brother. I just can't see it.
The one thing that I'm afraid, like getting Durin's Bane in like end of season 5, like putting that back in the timeline and having him kill Owain Arthur, that would be one thing. But presume like in like somewhere in season 1, they do like a premonition of Durin's Bane, like there's something down there in the rocks and they better not go there. I hate that.
It would be a bit like piling up things too much. I would agree with that.
And do you have any other non-negotiables in terms of characters other than Gandalf?
I mean, Saruman would be just as cloying, so that too.
Who I have not seen pitched anywhere near as much. Strider, what about you? What would be like an immersion-breaking character for you to see that like maybe could be there?
Well, I don't know. Perhaps having us see like so there was the poster with the sword with the head of the horse that just looks like Rohirrim. Was that confirmed to be Halbrand? Can somebody remind
It
me?
is, yeah. It is
Yeah.
Halbrand.
But
But I think it's
so much. And
yeah.
if there's a chance to connect that with the Rohirrim, I wouldn't necessarily be against it, but it would be kind of immersion breaking if we do get to see. Like we can totally see like those Northmen, but if they play with the Rohan horseman vibe too much, that type of aesthetic, not character per se, would be a bit immersion breaking for me.
I think, though, we believe that's actually a Numenorian cavalry sword. It looks very Rohan. I think it's intended to look very Rohan, but I think it's actually Numenorian stuff that he gets, presumably after they get to Numenor. But they could do like Sea Audience. Now Halbrand is taking this back to Middle Earth, and that's where Numenorians come from. So yeah, I would. Yeah, it's another one of those things that's just a little bit too like, crossing all the I's and T's a bit too much.
Potentially, perhaps it will just be a sword that has like that vibe, and that's
it. It's very.
But yeah, it could potentially be like that. Yeah, that's true.
And Dan, back to you to kind of close us out. Is there any characters that you think could make it in that for you would personally be like an eye roll or just like a little bit cringy?
Well, any mortal characters that shouldn't be alive yet, that are thousands of years removed from the events. So, obvious ones like Bard the Bowman or like Aragorn or like anybody that shouldn't be alive yet is obvious.
Two Durins at the same time.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm not too keen on that because I really like the whole dwarven reincarnation thing, and they've kind of lost that mythical kind of element to the dwarves there by doing that. So I'm not too keen, but we'll live with it. I don't know. I mean, you guys have mentioned the wizards, so I can only echo what you guys have said. I don't really want to see Saruman or Gandalf or Radagast yet at all. Blue wizards would be fine, but as long as they're handled well, I wouldn't have a problem with that. It would fit the lore and it wouldn't bother me too much, but I don't want to see the big three wizards. I don't know. Yeah, you guys have said the obvious ones. You've said the ones.
Actually, I think we forgot. Correct me, somebody mentioned him, but I think we forgot Círdan the shipwright. Of course,
that's true. Yeah, he's definitely one.
Yeah,
without a beard.
If he's not there, I'm gonna be so surprised. Like he has to be there. Like he has to be.
I think he is
somewhere in London. Is he confirmed? I'm not. I don't.
I think we did a video a while ago about Círdan. That's part why I didn't mention him because I think we did.
It's my assumption that he will be in the show at some point.
I mean,
it's season 1.
I'm pretty sure he's there, but like we didn't see poster.
I mean, like in this season.
I'm pretty sure he's there, but what?
I mean, in this season, I think we had a video on it a while ago, but still.
You guys put out a ton of content, and it's hard to keep up with sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe before my time. But anyway, I just wanted to point him out because, as I said, like in promotional, like I'm sure, like he has to be there. He has to be there. Like it's almost as if you're not having Gil-galad there. Like he's just there. Círdan the shipwright. Like that's the first person you think of when you think of ships sailing with the elves like to the west. Like he has to be there. I just wanted to point him out that he's like probably the likeliest to show up at some point, even could be also in season 1. But I think like by season 2, we should definitely see Círdan somewhere.
Yes.
He's the only elf on record to have ever sported a beard, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not sure if they'll go with
that. Northern Elf's father, I'm forgetting his name.
Who?
Martan, who is Feanor's father-in-law.
Father-in-law, nice.
Had a beard, at least in some version of the character that was described somewhere. I don't know if it's described in the Silmarillion, but yeah, there are some lore tidbits about him having a beard as well. Tolkien at one point wrote an essay where he suggested that elves in the third phase of their lives had all had beards, like when they get old enough. And it's just that Círdan was the only one there in Middle Earth that was old enough at that point to have a beard, because all the ones already died in the first age, and most of them went back in the second age, and then the only ones that were left were women or too young to have beards, apart from him. So
yeah.
Obviously, Tolkien changed his mind a lot about the ways in which elves aged, but that was something he wrote at one point. So we could see other elves with beards. He also at one point said that they're all clean shaven, because that was the whole thing about the fact that Aragorn wasn't supposed to have a beard because he was descended from elves and stuff. So he contradicts himself on this quite a bit. But...
yeah, I think that's well said. That he is potentially the oldest elf in Middle Earth, but like for sure one of the oldest. And it would make sense that, you know, a group around him, like his fellow shipwrights, could be like they're a band of, you know, the old guy elves, you know, in London. That could happen.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, I just want to say thank you for coming on, being a part of this, especially on short notice. It's awesome to kind of deep dive into the lore with you. I learned something about elf beards today that I did not know, so that's pretty cool.
Everybody's talking about dwarf beards at the moment, so I thought maybe I'd come equipped with that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was good about Macbeth. Nice.
Do you have, like you said earlier, you had a podcast recorded that hasn't come out yet? Is there anything you want to plug, upcoming content that you got coming out that you want people to know about?
Yeah, I'm working on a video about Galadriel for this week, so that should come out hopefully tomorrow evening. But I've got still some editing to do before then, so we'll see. If you know my channel, you know that I don't really have like a regular upload day. I just stuff comes out when it comes out because I'm the one-man band and I don't have an editor or anything. So that will come out this week though, and I've got a podcast with Helen, the Clueless Fangirl, as well, coming out definitely on Friday. So.
Hi, Helen.
We'll be talking about Isildur. We've already recorded it, so that's why I was reading the Disaster of Gladden Fields.
It all comes together now. But yeah, that was such a great. Thank you for reminding all of us of that story. I think we're definitely bound to see that guy, and you know, all the sons.
Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't bank on it necessarily, but I would use that character if I was the show writers. It's not like we get loads of information about him, but it's just what we don't know is interesting to try and adapt.
Yeah, but you know, having seeing the Siege of Barad-dûr and all that, you want to have the bond, like that brotherly bond that's created in, you know, like shows like Band of Brothers, and he could definitely fit there, along with the couple of other friends that Isildur already has confirmed. So yeah, that was a really good point.
Yeah.
And did you have any closing notes? Anything you want to say to the community?
Closing notes. I don't know. No, nothing comes to mind. I was trying to think of a joke of some kind, but didn't.
Meteor Man, please don't be Gandalf.
Oh yeah, sure. Hashtag don't be Gandalf.
We'll start using that in our tweets.
We should.
Any closing thoughts from you?
Give me Glorfindel and I'm gonna be happy.
I can respect that.
Of course, give me like a good Glorfindel and I'm gonna be happy.
Well, if they give it to you, it's probably not going to be a bad version of it.
That's also true.
Well, folks, that is all from us over here. Appreciate everybody tuning in. I'm sure we'll read the comments as they get posted and see everybody else's thoughts on who they're expecting to see, who they're hoping to not see. And I'm sure everybody's going to love my idea of the 7 Durins. So make sure you comment that below, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.